It is still the conversation here on Lagos Television. Thank you for staying tuned. And on this side, we'll be discussing a vital pillar of our economy, the micro, small, and medium enterprises, popularly known as the MSMEs. MSMEs are widely regarded as the engine of economic growth, innovation, and job creation. Joining the conversation this morning to explore the impact of MSMEs on Lagos economy is Anita Imaobong Amorighoye. I hope I got that right. I tried.
Yes, you did.
She is an entrepreneurial specialist. You're welcome to the conversation.
Thank you.
Right. So let's start the conversation this way. How would you describe the current state of MSMEs here in Lagos?
First, I would like to say that most people benchmark, most MSMEs benchmark what they're doing around the country with Lagos State. So I would say that yes, Lagos continues to trail or to lead, the pack of MSMEs, and they continue to use it to benchmark, what they are doing per time. The market is quite innovative. It is quite boisterous, and I would say that the MSMEs here thrive very well under the most difficult circumstances here. So I would, and it's growing. It's a market that is ever growing, okay? And with little, they've been able to do so much, It continues to lead not only within Nigeria, but also within the states around Africa and West Africa. So Lagos continues to lead the pack. And there's still more to be done, but I think that we're on the right trajectory. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sure many people just hear the word MSME. Now, for those who are not familiar, with MSME,
yes.
So what qualifies a business, to be an MSME in Nigeria?
Okay, no, that's so. First of all, MSME means micro, small, and medium enterprise. So
for some, that is still English.
Yes, so I'm going to break it down.
Yeah.
So basically, it's categorized based on things like turnover, your spread, your reach, a number of employees. So they have different criteria to categorize as MSMEs. Now, a lot of times it's actually used by the turnover that you do. So, for example, financial institutions categorize MSMEs for turnover below 10 million naira. Okay, some of them, they also look at it in terms of the legal structure. So if it's an enterprise where it's just me representing my organization, most of the time they like to categorize it under that space. But I'll look at it and say, yes, so turnover of 10 million, 50 million and below can be categorized as a micro business. And then we now go to the next stage, which is small businesses.
Small businesses.
2 to 5 employees. Maybe turnover below 100 million naira. That's per in the month. Now, turnover means revenue in a year, okay? Just one shop, or maybe 1 or 2 or 3 shops. No, 2 shops. When it begins to expand beyond that, that's where you now start looking at it as a medium scale enterprise. Yeah.
Okay, what if I have a business that is just involves me, I do this business. Okay, let's look at teaching or training,
Okay.
Like private training for organizations. Where would you classify that?
Okay, so now again, if I'm looking at it in terms of financials,
Yeah.
so we have seen, solopreneurs that are doing very large turnover.
Solopreneurs.
Yes, so solopreneurs are just me, myself, and I. Okay, but they are doing large turnover, maybe especially now in the content creation world. So we're seeing that happen more often. So you wouldn't want to call that a micro business anymore, okay? Because even though sometimes it's just one person, you find out that it has a rippling effect on many other people. A content creator would have the videographer, he will have so many people within his team. They may not necessarily be his employees, but he creates impact for them also. You don't want to also call that a micro business. So mama that is selling fish, she's micro.
She's micro.
Yes.
All right. Like I said during my introduction, that MSMEs are regarded as the strong or
like the backbone
of the economy.
Yeah.
But for a state like Lagos, some people say Lagos is a country on its own. For a state like Lagos, how critical is MSMEs and how important is it for the state to, provide an enabling ground for these businesses to thrive?
MSMEs are the backbone everywhere, and it's even more, enhanced in Lagos State. Some states are largely driven by political activity, but that's not Lagos. Lagos is an entrepreneurial state. So even though they do have the large corporates and then they have the other public sector, but there's a very large concentration. I think Lagos even gets its heartbeat from the MSMEs. So how critical? Very critical. This is the heartbeat of the state, we can say. It is actually even what attracts. I'm not sure it's just the corporates or even the public sector activities, but even the MSMEs, that actually attract the investments and the interest of people into Lagos State. So this is the heartbeat of Lagos State when it comes to entrepreneurship. Yes.
Okay, we're still talking about Lagos because we're bringing everything back home here.
Yes.
How much of businesses, let me talk about success stories that you have helped, grow in, yes, we're still limiting it to Lagos,
Yes.
and, the impacts they're making right now
Okay, so
as
maybe
an MSME.
Okay, great. So maybe I should just give a little bit of background about myself.
Okay.
I am a business consultant,
Okay.
and I also work with the Bank of Industry as a business development support personnel. So what we do is to help businesses to build their capacity, number one, create access to finance, and then also act as an advisor or a soundboard for small businesses.
Okay.
So over time, yes, we have worked, we do quite a lot of activities just to cater to any one of these three
Sorry,
service points.
when you say you help the small businesses build, are you there from the point of starting, or once they've started, do you start with them, or when they have established, you are just there as an advisory for them?
So we do have, it now depends on what comes to us. We do have at different stages, different needs. Okay. So we do have the people that require capital. Maybe they have been able to build some level of structure in their business and they need to execute their growth strategy. So we come in and we support them. We do have people that are at that stage where they just have an idea. And they're saying, how do I take it from idea, to reality or to a solution?
Okay.
At that stage, so different stages require different needs. And I would say at that stage, you wouldn't necessarily be requiring finance there. In fact, what we try to do for those group of people is to get them to begin to think of what they can do and start without 1 naira. So how can you birth your idea without 1 naira? Because the entrepreneurial journey is a journey and it's a marathon. And there will be times where you won't have money. So as an entrepreneur, if you're not able to create solutions for yourself, to scale through that period when you don't have money, then your journey will be a bit shaky. So it's always best to start out and say, how can you birth your idea? You have a wonderful idea, yes. Imagine, even if you have money sitting down, maybe somebody's trying to support you. Imagine if you didn't have that, how would you birth your idea? So the creativity in what you bring in helps you to scale, and that's where we start out then. So what at that moment they need is a lot of hand-holding, capacity building, and then begin to scale down their ideas. Have large ideas, but then, start small. Start small. Then for the mid-scale people, so these are not, so these ones have, they started their entrepreneurial journey with an idea.
Okay.
They've been able to, we call it validate. In other words, they've been able to identify a market to sell their products and clients that are ready to buy, okay? But along the line, most of them did not build any form of structure to continue to grow on their businesses. So when it now comes to begin to access opportunities like access to finance or anything, they're stuck. Or even, okay, so I have an idea, I don't know how to take it to the next level, I've been driving this thing for so long. They're stuck because they've known it in one way. So that's where we come in again, both now this time with finance as well as capacity building to help them to move to the next level. Yes. So we've done quite a bit.
Quite well.
Modestly.
Okay, so what are some of the most pressing challenges that MSMEs are facing right now, looking at the way the economy is and all, and then what's the way forward?
Great. Very great question. So for the longest time, we've always had this notion that it was access to finance.
Because that's what they always say, finance.
But increasingly, we found out that that's not the situation. Yes, there are quite a lot of things that MSMEs need, but the most pressing that we continue to see is actually capacity and capability building. Now, what's the difference? Capacity building is, you know how to do this thing. We're only going to take you to the next level, to get you to improve on what you know how to do. But capabilities building is new skills that you don't even know that you have, okay? But you require them. For example, bookkeeping. For example, being able to analyze your market and know how to tackle your market, okay? Even as much as business communication, to know how to communicate along your lines, customer service, all that line, okay? But a whole lot of people coming with, I know how to market and sell. I know the product. I know how to sell to the market. Somebody that's coming to invest in your business, whether it's by debt or whether it is by equity, I say, I want to buy shares in your business, okay, is going to need, yes, the sales and the marketing, but more. Also, they're going to want to affirm that you have the capabilities to continue to grow the business, okay, and take it to the next level of its growth. So this, for me, has been what I see recurrently, because when they come in, I say, oh, I need money, and we say, okay, we start schooling them and stuff like that. Okay, let's see your financials, and like, huh? Financials? And you don't have proper records. A lot of times we see people have been trading in their personal account but are running businesses. Okay, you need to have that separation. So I believe that a lot has to do with structuring your business for growth. So that's where the capacity and the capabilities come in. I must say something at this moment, that there's been quite a lot of activities in trying to get small businesses to access finance. So they actually have a lot of lines available for small businesses right now. But the question we should ask is, to what capacity are they actually embracing these opportunities and taking them, okay? So we need to handhold these businesses and build their capacity up so that they can actually partake of the offerings, the finances that are available, yes, and the packages.
Okay, talking about opportunity. Okay.
Also, it's like a follow-up process. So it leads me to mentoring now, because a lot of people want to become bosses of their own.
Yes.
You have an idea, you want to start a business. So how important is mentoring, especially for younger people? Because we have a lot of young people now starting up their own thing, So how important is mentoring? Because I think that when you engage in mentoring or you get a mentor, in business, some of these points that you have raised will be tackled.
Okay.
So how important is mentoring for young MSMEs?
So mentoring is it's like food to a baby also. So, I look at entrepreneurship like having a baby. Yes. So mentoring is the hand-holding part where somebody needs to hold you and take care of you. But you see, mentoring is always a two-way thing. Okay, so while I am trying to handhold you, I'm also learning too. The mentor is actually in a learning curve, okay? But it's now the ability for both parties to take advantage of that opportunity, okay? It has been, is it relevant? It is relevant, but to what extent in your business are you willing to
be guided?
To be guided, that's the word. So sometimes you're set, you have your ideas, and then maybe by virtue of experience, your mentor is not meant to tell you what to do. Your mentor is meant to guide you into you making a decision for what to do. But sometimes we do see, the expectation is, mentor, tell me what to do. Mentor, open doors for me.
My mentor that said I should do this.
Exactly. But no, mentorship is really to open your mind up so that you can now begin to know the pathway that you want to take. So that's to get the best out of any mentoring exercise, I think you should hear the mentor, but you should take the decisions yourself.
Okay. I want to talk about opportunities which you raised earlier. Government, both federal and state, you know, have come up with policies and, of course, initiatives, you know, programs, you know, interventions, you know, for MSMEs. So looking at Lagos, because we're in Lagos now, which of these interventions have been most impactful for this MSMEs?
So I think number one should go to the LSETF on what they are doing, you know, to try and create the right environment to foster MSMEs. Okay. I would also give, you know, even in the corporate space, the banks, the financial institutions also have come up with different structures also to support MSME growth, especially in different sectors or different markets, okay? The creative sector, the tech industry, there has been a lot of interventions going in there. I also say even private sector involvement too has done quite a lot, okay? To create the hubs, let me put it that way, for where they can huddle together, share ideas, and try and build capacity on one of them. I think the last one I'm going to talk about, which for me, you know, is while the others deal with Lagos, the urban Lagos, you know, where we more want to see it trickle into the suburban Lagos, and that is the recent LASMECO partnership between the BOI and the Lagos State Government, because it works with a lot of the cooperatives. Now, Nigeria is largely semi-structured, okay? And the semi-structured, so you find out that quite a lot of people are running businesses without a business name.
When you say semi-structured, I want you to just...
in the MSME space.
In the okay.
So we have a lot of businesses that are not... They're operating, they are doing business, okay? But they are not operating legally as a business name. So they don't have any business or legal business name.
Yes, we have that a lot.
So that's what we're saying. So it becomes increasingly more difficult for a financial partner to come and separate between you and the business, that you do. Okay. So now that's where LASMECO came in, because what they did was that through cooperatives, okay, in the cooperatives you find individuals that want to go there and identify. So they've kind of like said, I will finance you through a house. So it still gives hope to the people that maybe the formal lending structure may have missed out on. So I would say for me, that is quite, we do look forward to the following days, what the impact will be, but giving that opportunity for you to be financed through a cooperative, I think was the right move in the right direction. Yes.
Okay, you talked about banks, you know, Nigerian banks really supporting MSMEs, because you were in the banking sector for about 18 years?
Yes, right? 18 years.
18 years. Do these banks really support MSMEs, you know, when it comes to the thing you pay back their rates?
So rates are recently, you know, and but what I must say something. A lot of times finance has different structures, and then the structure of the finance you're looking for depends on the business need at that moment and the business growth stage. So we find out that MSMEs sometimes need growth finance, okay? Banks are commercial banks, so they offer commercial finance. So the mix match, the match in it doesn't go. So you're going to see short-term funding in banks, okay? Transaction based, right? While MSMEs need money that can stay for a bit.
Okay, so is that now why we now have the microfinance?
So we now see go for growth finance.
Growth finance,
yes,
okay.
the development finance is better for SMEs depending on where you are. So if I have a transaction, 60 days, 90 days, 1 year, okay, a trade-related transaction where I'm going to take money, put in my business, and sell it quickly and return, fine. If I'm going to industrialize my business and buy equipment, you don't go to a bank, because it's long-term. Yes.
Long term. Yeah, we can have this conversation without touching a little on the newly signed tax reform bills.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
So particularly
Yes.
now for the MSMEs here, do you believe it will promote growth for small businesses? Do you foresee any challenges emerging even in the implementation?
But you know, there are some clauses even in the tax,
Implementation is one thing.
thing.
So let me first start by saying, for quite a lot of SMEs, it's hallelujah.
Hallelujah, exactly.
It is
If you're not making up to
hallelujah.
$1 million or about 10 million or so,
Yes.
you can't pay.
So you're
this
not
tax.
paying
Yeah.
a certain volume of turnover.
Volume,
You
yeah.
are not
You're
paying,
not paying,
tax
yeah.
and everything. That's beautiful.
Mm.
But you see, again, Nigeria, a large percentage is in the semi-structured market. I'm not going to say unstructured. I'll say it's semi-structured. It's not as structured as where you and I in the urban centers operate.
Okay.
And what does that mean? It means there are a whole lot of other taxes that MSMEs do pay on a daily basis as not captured on the tax reform bill, okay? So we want to, I'll give you an example. So there are some things that I try to do. You know, the only way you can feel the pulse of what MSMEs do is to be in that space. So recently I started engaging bus drivers.
Really?
Yes.
How do you do that? How do you get through to them?
So you go, you try and first of all try and get the first seat.
Okay.
The first seat in front,
in the bus,
so you
okay.
can now bond with them and then you start talking to them.
Okay.
But this time I didn't talk, I just observed. And I noticed, you know, for every round they go, they're paying somebody money. They're paying so, and so I now engaged them. I was like, how are you making your money? He said, my sister, Nasoyi Bio. To them, that's tax. It's not, that tax is not captured in the tax reform bill, but they're paying it every day. Yeah. And you find out that if somebody is paying as much as almost 20% of their revenue or above of their revenue for every trip that bus driver is making, that's significant. So the tax reform bill, wonderful for the businesses that are in the tax net. But there are quite a lot of businesses that are outside the tax net. And we need to start looking at how are we going to restructure, you know, taxation within that space. Mama is selling just her pan on, you know, on the real, well, not even in the market. And then she's expected to pay a certain amount of money to continue to sustain that space. That is tax. That
They
is
call it oily.
yes, so that is tax. And the question you need to ask is, tax is meant to be deployed towards providing the amenities that can build sustainability in the business that you do. The taxes that they're paying there, right? How can we deploy them, okay, to make the business conditions for Mama better? So what we're trying to say is that let's devolve taxation to local governments, okay, and begin to see how can we take a deeper look into these levies, the levies that are being paid regularly.
And the multiple of them.
It's quite a lot. It's quite a lot, okay? There are some streets you pass through, maybe you're carrying some load and everything.
You pay.
So those kind of things. It's going to be difficult to try and see how we can quantify it or everything, but I do believe that government will continue to look into policies and see how they can bring a better business environment for small businesses at a very grassroots stage.
Okay, aside from this case or this scenario that you have painted with the mama and of course the bus driver, are there still other gaps that needs to be bridged, you know, to create this enabling environment for, you know, MSME?
Okay, so there will continue to be. I'm not sure.
And they keep evolving.
Yes, so I'm not sure we found any place in this world has found that perfect fit. Okay, so will the needs continue to evolve? Oh yes, they will. But if you just go to the market, I always believe that the most practical way is just go and then engage them and ask them, okay, so what's your experience like? first thing they're going to say is, country hard. Yes, we do know. So, create environments where access to markets so that, they can get their goods at a cheaper rate.
Cheaper rates,
yes.
okay.
And then hubs maybe where they can go and then buy. So can we begin to look at removing some gaps like middleman that create
which we're also suffering when it comes to moving goods from other states
down
to
so
Lagos.
That middleman, so that you get it almost close to farm gate rates, things like that. But then I think then the next thing they're going to tell you is that these people, they know they agree us rest, So I think we can start with making the business environment a bit more friendly or less hostile. For small businesses, so that even if I know I am dealing with the challenge of expensive goods, the beauty of it is that even though it's expensive, maybe the challenge would be that their purchasing power cannot buy as much. So if we're able to provide them with additional finance, then they have more money to buy more goods. Right?
Okay.
But then if more money means more levies. So that's why I'm saying I think maybe what we can do first of all is to create that enabling environment, a more friendly environment where businesses can now begin to tackle with core business issues. I mean, inflation is everywhere in the world, okay?
Exactly.
So if I can deal with the inflationary issues as the major headwind without having to deal with other operating issues, then I think that should I think these are the key areas, where businesses continue to complain. Now, this is from the market to your ears.
Exactly.
All right, let's also talk about technology has evolved over the years, and every sector, has one or two things to do and say about technology. So for the MSMEs.
Tongue twister.
So MSM is really leveraging on technology, and for small businesses, how can they really tap into, technology, the digital economy, e-commerce to help their businesses thrive?
So technology has done a lot to create new businesses, the new business models for businesses to
like
thrive.
selling online.
Yes, like selling online, even as much as, so even the space of selling, marketing. Business management, bookkeeping and finance, even people management. So now that's where you're coming to the medium enterprises, how to best manage your employees, because aside solopreneurs, in fact, even with solopreneurs, your greatest strength in your business is not necessarily the product, but it's the people that you have within the business there. So how well can you manage your people resources? Okay, it's critical. So, and even if that people resource is just yourself, so it's still very important. So technology continues to play a very vital part in small businesses. Technology comes with its own cost. So at the same time, you need to look at trade-offs between adopting technology, okay, and its cost implications, okay. But in the long run, so when you look at it short term, yes, it may come with a cost, but in the long run, it actually does thin out your expense lines. So technology is playing a very good role in it, the adoption. And look at technology. You say, what is technology? Sometimes when we look at it, we're looking at so much digital technology, but even as much as your phone calls.
Yeah.
Even if you have just this phone that is not a smartphone, okay, it's still technology you're adopting. So have businesses actually brought in technology? Oh yes,
yes,
they have. So it's now at what scale do
even
you want
the mamas, they have their own POS.
Oh, exactly. So POS,
yeah.
yes. So yes, technology does play a very integral role in driving SMEs opportunities forward. And also, the more we try to, so that's another thing, you're trying to leverage technology to help people get things like financial records so that they can now begin to access finance, yes, and other offerings that the government and the financial institutions do offer.
Okay. Considering our economic realities, what sectors or what trends do you see that will now shape the future of MSMEs, henceforth?
Okay, so
Is it technology?
So the creative space.
The creative space? Okay.
The creative space continues. So Lagos, you know, I say something about Lagos, and that's a bit peculiar. I say that, look, anything would sell in Lagos. Just find the right market.
Okay.
Any legitimate thing.
Oh, thank you. Thank God you added that.
Every legitimate thing would sell. Just find the right market. Because some of the, when you go, you try to explore, you find out that some of the most unconventional things are being sold here. So who is buying?
Exactly.
If the person is selling, that means somebody there is buying.
I keep referring to this, my little cousin, who sells snakes. Yeah, she makes it. Yeah, she prepares it like you prepare chicken.
Yes.
You know, to sell. And I was like, is this a business? And she's making a lot of money from it.
Yeah, I agree, because so there was once I went to a market here in Lagos. Yeah, and they had turtles, they had snakes, and I was like,
people come to buy.
Well, if they weren't buying, he wouldn't be selling.
Exactly.
So yes, they do. So yes, so I think in Lagos, the beauty of it is maybe because of, you know, it's a large state. In fact, the population of Lagos is almost as much as some countries
Yeah, of
in
course.
Africa.
Absolutely,
yes. So you would find, just be able to identify your market and speak to your market. Yes.
Okay, as we bring this to a close, what would be your advice to aspiring entrepreneurs who are about to launch into the MSME space?
There's never been a better time than now to be an entrepreneur. Okay, create something, innovate something, and take time out to identify what problems, you know, your solution is solving.
Okay, that a mentor cannot do for you. It has to comes solely from you.
Okay, from me?
No, I'm saying that
Okay.
you know, create solutions.
Yes.
You know, think of ideas that bring solutions. That should be your own idea, solely yours.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Solely yours. And when people keep complaining, oh this, oh that, it's an opportunity to create. You know, so there's so much complaint around, but people are not turning that energy that they used to complain to actually creating solutions. So there's never been a better time than now. There are economic headwinds, in fact, challenges that are coming every day. But for each headwind comes an opportunity to create. You will be, we think of the challenges that we have here in Nigeria, and we see a lot of people complaining. I tell you, I've been privileged to work in some of the other African countries, and they see it as opportunities for you to bring over them for them. So they keep on looking up to Nigerians to say, how do you survive in that space? So for aspiring MSMEs, don't be afraid. I think the person that has failed is the person that hasn't started.
Okay.
Don't
the
kill
person
your
that
dream.
has failed
The person that hasn't
is the
started.
person that hasn't started. Yeah, I like that.
So please take a step out, and the world is yours. If you fail, you fail forward, but you learn. So it's never a loss.
Okay.
Yes.
Finally, what inspired you to go into MSMEs, leaving your comfortable bank work?
Yes. So I get this question regularly, but I'll tell you why. So, first of all, while I was in the bank, I was, I loved, maybe I'll start from what I studied. I studied mathematics. I loved solving problems. So I'd always been more attracted to the most difficult problems. And then for any time while in the bank, a customer comes and he brings I always look for the most difficult ones to try and solve. And the only thing I was looking for was just the client to say thank you. So I think, once this just became my passion, when a time came in and, you know, I was like, well, I thank the bank, but the bank has structure. And if you can't work within the structure, then go outside where you can walk, where you can, you know, leverage your own structure. So, and then again, I think I hit the 40 bugs. So, so that was what inspired me, and we stepped out. Was it an easy journey? Never.
No.
Was it a worthwhile journey? 100%. And we're still growing.
And we're still growing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anita Imaobong.
Amorighoye.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very
entrepreneurial
much.
specialist, and we've been discussing impact of MSMEs on Lagos economy. Thank you very much for that enlightening experience we've had together. We'll go on a short break. When we come back, the conversation continues.